or Bushy. He apparently fired all of the 8 shots in the magazine of a .22 caliber revolver. Those shots taking effect in Senator Kennedy and 4 other persons, as far as we have been able to determine, with some still rather confused reports and incomplete identification on all of the others wounded. One witness said that those shots came so close together that he could scarcely believe they were fired from one gun. A reporter heard the shots from an adjoining room, said they sounded almost like they came from a machine gun. So short was the burst of fire.
The question is, what kind of country is the United States that in just the last few years has killed a president, President Kennedy, has killed Martin Luther King, and now attempts to kill Robert Kennedy, Malcolm X, the black militant leader? What kind of curious strain of violence is there in the American people?
There have been some threats of violence toward the man who did it. I'd like to get my hands on that man, said one, and they've already killed the only real president we ever had. Another.
The suspect, now being held by Los Angeles police in connection with the Kennedy shooting, is 24-year-old Sirhan Bishara Sirhan. Details of Sirhan's past are slowly being pieced together, and as of now, we know this much about him. He was born in Jordan in 1944 and was admitted to the United States as a permanent resident in January of 1957. He is not a United States citizen. Sirhan's residence is in Pasadena, California, where he resides with his mother and his brother Joe. Police searched the premises this morning and, according to Los Angeles Mayor Samuel Yorty, found the notebook in the suspect's room mentioning the, quote, necessity to assassinate Senator Kennedy. Another brother, Adele, went with police to headquarters, but not as a suspect. Police Chief Redden said the Sirhan family has been most cooperative in the investigation.
Well, we know very little bit. He's been non-communicative, and he hasn't been very helpful. He hasn't told the family about what he's been up to at all, so we don't know anything more than you do. Yeah.
Was he politically oriented at all?
Not a bit. This is what's perplexing about it.
He didn't profess any particular interest in things political?
No.
I describe him as a wonderful boy, an example for anybody.
He seemed very quiet, what you might call clean cut. He certainly didn't seem like the kind that would do it.
Sirhan graduated from a local Pasadena high school and attended Pasadena City College. One thing appears certain about Sirhan's personality. He is not highly excitable and does not appear to be mentally unstable.
The crowds outside St. Patrick's Cathedral have increased so dramatically that it's almost unbelievable. The beginnings of the line start on 51st Street. People moving east on 51st Street away from the cathedral. And these people are moving very, very slowly now. When they get to Park Avenue, they have to move north. And they have to move north 2 blocks to 53rd Street, then back down Park Avenue south on 53rd Street, south to Grand Central Station.
The identification of the suspect in the shooting was made within the last hour by the mayor of Los Angeles, Sam Yorty. Yorty had appeared at a news conference in Los Angeles.
Well, first of all, let me say that every right-thinking person will deplore and be horrified.
From the outside, the shooting of Robert Kennedy seemed an open and shut case. Sirhan eventually confessed to the murder, and no one was apparently troubled by the fact that he couldn't seem to remember it. In his pocket was a 10-day-old newspaper article attacking Robert Kennedy for his support of Israel. It might have been a bit more help to investigators if the clipping had been pinned to Sirhan's shirt and labeled the motive. But no matter. Sirhan had been caught, gun in hand.
To tell you that his name appears to be Sirhan, S-A-R-H-A-N, Sirhan. Both names, Sirhan. S-I-R-H-A-N. He had a news clipping from the Pasadena News, which was anti-Kennedy in nature. He had another news clip from what paper, we don't know, but it told where Kennedy would be expected to be speaking in June.
On the night of the murder, William Bailey was an agent for the FBI stationed in Los Angeles. He is now a professor of criminal justice. We spoke several months ago.
On the night Bobby was assassinated, I was working in the Los Angeles office of the FBI. I was called about 2 or 2:30 in the morning, and I was told to report to the Ambassador Hotel. I probably spent 15 or 20 minutes in the pantry area itself. I was walking around, looking at the various locations, trying in my own mind to reenact what took place. During this time, I happened to observe in a wood door frame, a center divider between two doors, 2 bullet holes. You could clearly see the base of a bullet in each one of those holes. They weren't that deeply embedded, and the wood that was around the holes was freshly broken away.
Bailey's description of the hotel pantry would at first seem to carry no special significance. He went to the scene of a shooting and saw bullet holes. Quite a few others had as well. In fact, photographs were taken of police officials and others pointing proudly to bullet holes in the walls and ceiling. But by the next day, it was known that 5 bullets had been recovered from the 5 wounded bystanders, and that Kennedy had been struck 3 times with another bullet passing through his suit jacket. The problem for the LAPD was that Sirhan's Ivor Johnson .22 caliber pistol held only 8 bullets. Thus, for only a single gun to be firing, there could be no extra bullet holes in the walls and ceiling. With some creative accounting using ricochets, the police managed to make the numbers work. But to do this, the holes in the wood by the doorway, which the night before had been trophies, now became non-entities.
I saw 2 bullet holes in a center divider. I saw 2 bullets in the holes. I know what I saw, and the issue, obviously, is that others say that they weren't there.
But to the chagrin of the LAPD, there was a great body of evidence pointing to the existence of these bullets. Statements from witnesses, statements from police officers, wire service photographs, and most damning of all, clearly labeled FBI photographs which surfaced in 1975, which included close-ups identifying bullet holes in the wood by the doorway. The LAPD, however, continues to claim that the witnesses were mistaken and the photos mislabeled, that the defects in the wood were only nail holes.
That's ridiculous. I was there. They were positively bullet holes. Anyone who is saying anything different either didn't see the holes the way I did, or they have some other agenda.
As far as extra bullets are concerned, why not settle the matter by a scientific examination of the door frames and the ceiling tiles? Well, this is not possible, because as it was revealed in 1975, not only had the door frames and the ceiling tiles been removed by the police the night of the murder, they had been secretly destroyed in June of 1969.
On April 19th, 1988, the chief archivist for the California State Archives makes a stunning announcement.
As the documents show, the police did dispose of physical evidence, the door jambs and ceiling tiles from the crime scene. Among missing photographic items are those relating directly to crime scene studies, ballistics examinations, and witness reenactments.
The official explanation offered was that these items were too large to be kept in a filing cabinet. Thus, in one of the most important murder investigations in the nation's history, the Los Angeles police asked us to believe that a few pieces of wood and several ceiling tiles were too much trouble to store away.
Everything that was used to convict Sirhan was preserved. Those things that had no evidentiary value, those are some of the things that were destroyed.
Explanation for it, except that you need room, and so you say, hey, we don't need these anymore, let's dump them. And people dump them. Most people, unless you're a real string saver, you go through your garage and say, I got to get rid of some of this junk.
The only way that you can jive what the coroner said, what the LAPD said in its crime scene examination, what the eyewitnesses say they saw, the only way you can jive all of that is that there was a second guy firing a gun in that pantry that night.
The confused reports and incomplete identification on all of the others wounded. One witness said that those shots came so close together that he could scarcely believe they were fired from one gun. A reporter heard the shots from an adjoining room, said they sounded almost like they came from a machine gun. So short was the burst of fire.
The question is, what kind of country is the United States that in just the last few years has killed a president, President Kennedy, has killed Martin Luther King, and now attempts to kill Robert Kennedy, Malcolm X,
or Bushy? He apparently fired all of the 8 shots in the magazine of a .22 caliber revolver. Those shots taking effect in Senator Kennedy and 4 other persons, as far as we have been able to determine, with some still rather...
The black militant leader. What kind of curious strain of violence is there in the American people?
There have been some threats of violence toward the man who did it. I'd like to get my hands on that man, said one, and they've already killed the only real president we ever had. Another.
The suspect, now being held by Los Angeles police in connection with the Kennedy shooting, is 24-year-old Sirhan Bishara Sirhan. Details of Sirhan's past are slowly being pieced together, and as of now, we know this much about him. He was born in Jordan in 1944 and was admitted to the United States as a permanent